Did you click on this video on your own free will, or was all this already written about 13.8 billion years ago when the universe began with the Big Bang at that time? Now this might sound weird, but this is the reality, because the reality is that what you are doing is not your own will. And point to be noted, this is not a simulation hypothesis like any such trick according to which someone is controlling you. Rather, the truth is that whatever you, me, this phone, and all the living and non-living things of this universe are doing, whatever they have done and whatever they will do in future, it has already been written, and it cannot be changed even if one wants to. And look, we are not saying this in a wild way, but we are going to prove it scientifically with facts and figures. So, let's start and watch the new episode. If we have to define free will, then we can see it as an ability under which we are capable of taking our own decisions without being influenced by any outside influence, which means that if I decide to go from point A to point B, then no one will have any role in it, and this decision will be taken by me alone without being dependent on anyone. This is called free will in simple language, and if you ask anyone whether they have their free will, then probably everyone will answer yes. After all, everyone thinks that they are the masters of their decisions and no one has any control over them. But if you ask the same question to some philosophers or scientists of the society, then you will see a different spectrum of this question. Yuval Noah Harari, who is famous for his book Sapien and Homo Deus, had said about free will that it is just an anachronistic myth, which was used in earlier times only to motivate people so that they come out of the operation and protest against the people who suppress them. But in today's time, when we have studied data science so deeply, then our actions clearly reflect that all the people in the world follow a pattern regarding their decisions, and by collecting this data of humans with the help of data science, today many such models have been prepared which know humans more than humans. Now in this case, a few years ago a study was published in the Nature Neuroscience journal, in which an experiment was mentioned. Researchers were studying which part of the brain influences our decisions, and for this they took some people and placed a button in front of them and asked them to take a simple decision whether to press that button with their left hand or right hand. Now, surprisingly, they found out that whatever known and even unknown decisions we are going to take in the future, those decisions are stored in two parts of the brain before execution. One is in the primary motor cortex of our brain and the other is in the supplementary motor area of our brain. But this was the surface-level reality. Scientists wanted to know whether these decisions are stored somewhere before this, and they found out something literally extraordinary. They found that in this decision-making part of the brain, about 7 seconds before the thought of the decision came, the decisions that you would take in the future were being stored in some part of the frontopolar cortex of the brain, and that was not the end, because about 1 second before the execution, all the decisions were being reflected in the part of the parietal cortex in a very unnoticed manner, which means that this was a very normal function for the brain. Now think before you yourself know what you are going to do. A subconscious part of your brain keeps guessing that future. Perhaps this is the reason that when something bad is going to happen to us or something good is going to happen, then we get a positive or negative feeling. But the question is that of the brain, how does that subconscious part guess what is going to happen in our future? Is it because our brain is linked to some unknown power? Or because this world is designed by some source who executes the predetermined things written in it as it is? Now this question could have taken a hypothetical and philosophical turn, but rather than this we researched how the brain is able to guess the future in advance, and in search of that source we again met the infamous quantum mechanics German philosopher Arthur Schindelhauer. From the most difficult field of science said that man can will what he wants, but cannot will what he wills means that he can do whatever he wants, but he cannot want anything even after wanting. Now, if we look at this argument from the perspective of physics, it is correct from the angle of both classical and quantum physics. According to classical physics, the universe is completely deterministic, which means that if we are given data with the present state of anything, then both its future and past can be determined. Whereas quantum mechanics, despite being different from classical physics in many things, correlates with this fact. Look, the base of quantum physics is that there is randomness in the results of experiments. But at the same time, quantum mechanics also says that the result of observation is not in our control, plus the result of observation is always predetermined. If you don't understand, let's understand it with an example. Look, the most basic principle of quantum mechanics is the superposition, which says that when we do not observe an object, it exists in all its possible states at the same time, which is known as superposition, but when we observe that object, its wave function collides and we see the same object in the same state every time, meaning that no matter how random the choices during the experiment, its result will always be predetermined, in which there is no place for novelty or free will. Now, this concept is defined very precisely in quantum mechanics by another term, non-age superdeterminism. Now, suppose you were tossing a coin in New York and the other in California, then even though these two coins may seem independent of each other, but quantum entanglement, which is the result of all subatomic the particles are interlinked with each other. According to that, the wave function of these two after colliding, the state will always be same with each other. But why? Because superdeterminism is such a principle that inside every object in the world, whether living or not, there is information. Now I mention the existence of information. Here, information is not the information that we use in general terms, but the information of physics about which you have talked about entropy. Before anyone writes anything wrong in the comments, I know quantum entanglement works only on subatomic particles, but I have told you this only to give an example. Now coming back to the point where the determinism principle of classical physics says that one event initiates another event with perfect predictability, which means that if we take the exact details of any one event, then we can predict the entire future. At the same time, superdeterminism also gives place to randomness with probability, according to which if you do something that even if the future is different from that deterministic future, the rest of the events will be aligned in such a way that the final result should be related to the determined future. In short, no matter how much you use your mind, no matter what you do, what will happen is already determined 13.8 billion years ago during the Big Bang. Because after all, whatever particles and subatomic particles we see today, their first origin was from the beginning of the universe, that is the Big Bang. Now, if we put this in a human perspective, then humans are nothing but their own brains, which are after all our every small action is happening because of this brain. Now, at the end of the day, our human brain is a physical object, which means that it is also governed by the laws of physics. It is bounded, whether we look from the perspective of classical physics or quantum mechanics. From both these points of view, our brain looks like just a program which itself feels that it is taking its choices on its own and makes you feel the same, but the reality is that all this is happening because of a complex model which is implanted in everyone's mind right now, and is forcing everyone to believe that they are the masters of their own will by pushing them into predetermined actions, and perhaps this is the reason that every choice taken by humans has a kind of pattern which is sometimes simple and sometimes complex. According to you, is everything in the universe predetermined, or does our free will really exist? Do write your opinion in the comments section below and tell us, friends. If you like this video and got to learn something new, then like this video and definitely share it with your friends if you're new to this channel. And if you want to watch such interesting videos, then along with subscribing to this channel, turn on the notification button.